Hello everyone, this is Sophia and Breyer once again, and this is part 2 of me talking about my poems in a Compendium of Fragments. So we're just going to talk about a few more of them. Like, obviously there are more poems than what I've been talking about, but these are just more of the standouts, my favorites basically. So Valentine's Day was a poem I wrote in a poetry class I took a couple semesters ago, and it was kind of funny that literally everyone else in the class, or maybe mostly everyone else in the class, and there was only 6 of us counting me, we all wrote some sort of poem about Valentine's Day all around the same time, and I just thought that was hilarious because we all did it. And but anyway, Valentine's Day is mainly about like how I would want my partner to be, like their personality, how I would want our relationship to be, since I do not have a partner. I do not even have a crush on anyone or anything like that. But there we go. This was also written not long after I read A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, and so you can tell that by this first stanza here because like I was doing things. But I do want to read this first stanza because it is nice, and I might also read the last stanza for Valentine's Day. But anyway, if we shall die, let us do so together. If we shall drown, let us do so entwined. For it feels as if all the things within me will wither and die. So let us remember the fact that I am yours and you are mine. I was having a grand old time with this. But then here's this last one. You might be wondering who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people, women, men, it doesn't matter which, for they change from time to time in that regard. But some things are for certain, that they are better than me beyond measure, and that they do not exist. Because I know I could probably find someone that has some of these traits and personalities, or they could find me either way around, but I would not be able to find someone with all of that, so they do not exist. Unless they're in books. Unless they're the ones I've created in my head. You'll probably see that later in this book. But then this next one, Tombstone, was written as an elaboration of Valentine's Day, and while it had originally just been like in a revision, it became so different that I had to give it a new title and had to make it its own thing. Otherwise it wouldn't really make sense. And this one just goes into a lot more detail than what Valentine's Day does, and just like goes really deep into it. We talk about, like, we would have cats snoozing by our feet, their tuxedo and brown tabby pelts slowly rising and falling, as we drift off to lost worlds and stray lands, determined to remember our dreams before we heed sleep's calling. Whereas, like, well, because I've always wanted cats, and I can't have cats because my parents, one of my parents is allergic to them, and then, for most of my life I just didn't have cats. So I never really got one when I was older. But I do want a tuxedo one because, well, Haru from My Roommate's a Cat. I love that cute little cat. She's great. And brown tabby pelts. I'm pretty sure I was also thinking of Lulu from Kittysaurus. I don't even know if she's if that YouTuber is posting anymore, because I haven't seen much from them in a long while. But little Lulu, I love him. He's great. So those are the 2 cats I was thinking of. But this last stanza was also like a little bit different from the original one from Valentine's Day. So I'll read this one as well. Because if we were to die, we would do it together. If we were to drown, we would do so entwined. For if someone were to ever see our tombstone in the back of a graveyard, I would want to read that I am yours and you are mine. So, I don't know where I got that one. It just popped into my head, tombstone. I was like, we went from something very nice and fluffy to death, to tombstone. And then this last one I wanted to talk about before I really move on to some of the diary entries and a poem that is linked to the diary entries. Also don't mind this little dog ear because I had like a misprint, so I had to fix this. Like, once again, this is the perf copy. But anyway, I don't know. Tells the story of how I often feel as a creator, how I suspect many others feel as well as creators. The last two lines went through a lot of revisions, especially with the structure and way the last line was written. You can see it's down over here. There's a space where it originally had been over here. I think there was one part where I said, like, yo, are you really asking me? I don't know. Yo, did you hear me? I don't know, or something like that. And I just went on from there. And this one doesn't really have any rhymes, so that's interesting as well. Like, this was one of the first couple poems I've ever written that didn't have any rhymes, and I wasn't like trying to make it rhyme as well. I do kind of want to read this whole one, and then I'll probably be done, because this one's lovely. Everybody seemed to like this one, even though it is like very dark and deep. But anyway, I want to throw all the inspiring books I've read out the window so that they stop giving me ideas that I will ever get the chance to add to their teetering pile. I want to dash all my notebooks against the wall so that they shatter like glass, so that some errant janitor will find the fallen pieces and want to solve them like a puzzle. I want to tear each page into 1,000 little pieces so that you can't discern a single word or symbol, so that in 100 years people look at it and forgotten the language. I want to black out all the lines so it looks as if there were never words to begin with. I want to white out all my paintings so all you feel are the indiscernible ridges of dried paint. I want to douse all my drawings thoroughly in water so that they disintegrate, their pieces looking as if they have been burnt to ash, the tiny molecules destroyed. I want to rip through all my sculptures so that my hands are smothered in clay, and there are bits of it strewn across the metal floor forever lost in the cracks. I want to eternally delete all my projects so I can stop having each choice made on them dissected completely by every being who dares to look upon them, including my blast itself. I want to grab a rock and bash my head so all my thoughts will cease. I want someone to stab me in the heart so that I don't have to do it myself. I want to disappear forever so that people forget I exist and I forget the sound of my name. And I want to scorch myself because drowning in water would feel like a mercy. If this is what I feel like every time I create something, you're probably wondering why I still do it. I've been wondering that same thing ever since I started doing it. And maybe it's because people tell me to keep trying, that I will get somewhere, even when I no longer believe their words. Or maybe it's because I confess I don't know. I do not know. I don't. I really, really don't. So yeah, this one went through a lot of revisions. And this one just kind of shows how crazy my mental state has been sometimes, especially but here I am publishing a book, so I got somewhere. It's just that, you know, a lot of times I know some people would probably feel like they would never get anywhere, they would never make it this far, and I am so proud of myself sometimes that I made it this far. But also I'm just like, how in the name of night did I make it this far? And is anybody ever going to look at it other than my friends and family? But, you know, I feel like a lot of people feel like that. And most people could probably relate to this. But, yeah. So that's some of the poems there. I'll be showing another one in the next part when I move on to diary entries, because this one right here is really old and is linked to some of the diary entries. But, yeah, that's enough of the poems. Thank you. Goodbye.